continuing today, just seeing so many stories out there about Trump wanting to buy Greenland, or Trump wanting to retake the Panama Canal, or Trump wanting to do this, that, or the other. And you're seeing the media outrage at just his suggestions at these things, which most of which is obviously just him doing that Trump thing. We all know Donald Trump, this is who he is. But on the other hand, there is a lot to what he's saying. We'll get into a little bit more here. Be sure to hit that subscribe and like, and let's discuss it. You know, the purchasing of Greenland, as silly as it sounds on the surface, on a national security level is incredibly smart. That gives us a key directly into the Arctic, besides Alaska. Basically controls 2 or 3 entryways over the Pole Ocean to the North American continent. Would allow us basing options that we currently don't have. The minerals underneath the ice sheet in Greenland are worth trillions and trillions of dollars, just have to be extracted. On a national security basis, it actually makes a lot of sense to have some place like Greenland. There's not a lot of folks there. Well, if it's for sale, let's see if we can't work out a deal. This is the man who made the art of the deal. Let's see if he can't put together a deal. The other one, the Panama Canal. That's far more serious. When the United States relinquished rights to the Panama Canal, it also relinquished rights to the U.S. bases in that area in Panama. We had training facilities there. Our jungle training was in Panama. That's where we trained, was in the jungles of Panama for our jungle forces. It's strategic importance. I don't really even think I have to go too much into it. The reason we have a 2-ocean navy is because we could get them through the Panama Canal. So obviously we're not getting our super carriers through the Panama Canal. But there was a time where every single ship in the United States Navy had to fit through the Panama Canal. That's why the Iowa-class battleships are long and rather thin, because they had to fit through the lock gates. They had to. That's how we had a 2-ocean navy back in the day. Now, there's a lot of Chinese presence in Panama. The Chinese have built port facilities in the Caribbean. We know this. I've followed this for years personally. There's at least 3 I can think of. One super container facility in the Bahamas that is absolutely massive, owned by China, controlled by China. Its strategic location to Venezuela. We would, if we had our basing facilities still in Panama, the need to park aircraft carriers off Venezuela for what inevitably is going to end up happening would be a lot less. And I do think it's inevitable. During the president's first term, a lot of folks don't remember this, but there was a period where he was very threatening towards Venezuela, close to invasion. And there was a rumor of a buildup of a fleet at one point. Whether that was true or not, remains speculation. But the strategic importance of the Panama Canal to us economically and militarily, I think, is without question. So the president isn't just out there spouting off, I don't think, is the proper way of saying it. He is legitimately making cases. This country needs to look home a little bit more into our own hemisphere. There's a lot of problems in the Western Hemisphere. Yes, there's problems around the world. But if we don't take care of our home, if we don't take care of the Western Hemisphere, I was reading another article recently that the Monroe Doctrine is going to be making a comeback. If you're not familiar with what Monroe Doctrine is, the President Monroe stated that no power outside of the Western Hemisphere will be allowed to gain undue influence in the Western Hemisphere, that we would not allow it. It certainly sounds like to me that President Trump is going to reiterate the Monroe Doctrine, and I believe that he may enhance it. We might end up calling it the Monroe Trump Doctrine, where we simply don't even allow it. China, other nations, if it's anything strategic, I think we're going to start talking raw minerals too, because China owns Chinese corporations own large percentage of mines in like Australia, and they own a lot of farmland here in the United States. And I think we're going to be strategically looking at that in the view of the Monroe Doctrine, the Monroe Trump Doctrine. I don't think it's going to be allowed. I think we are coming into a future where any and all investment of any substantial nature is going to be seen through the eyes and the prism of the Monroe Trump Doctrine. It's clear to me that the president is trying to secure the Western Hemisphere for the United States. Yes, he's obviously working on a worldwide basis. Greenland, Panama Canal, the listing of Mexican drug cartels as terrorist groups, as in the previous video. It's clear that the president is reiterating the Monroe Doctrine. It's clear the president is strengthening our Western Hemispheric ties, roots, defenses. I think defenses is very important to put here. So it's not just him spouting off. I personally can see an entire hemispheric strategy. I can see an entire hemispheric strategy that the president is laying out. Whether it's viewed as disjointed or not by the mainstream media, who gives a crap what they think anyway? Whether they see it as disjointed or not, I actually do see a unified plan here. I see a Monroe Trump Doctrine. I see it happening relatively quickly. If J.D. Vance or Vivek Ramaswamy, if a J.D. Vance or Vivek Ramaswamy were to get into office in 2028, I absolutely see this continuing, being strengthened, moving forward, and a Western Hemispheric fortress might be the best way of describing it, economically and militarily. A Monroe Trump Doctrine that brings us into the 21st century. I'm all for it. But for now, that's all I got. Thanks for sticking around and discussing this. I really do appreciate you. And I thank you.